Hi, it's Pastor Chris with a bite-sized sermon for you. So we're still in our sermon series on the book of Revelation, and our texts today are from the 13th and 19th chapters of that book, but really covering this big span from like chapter 12 to chapter 20. The span is the big cinematic centerpiece of the book of Revelation. It's probably the thing that gets the most attention out of anything in this book. It is that final battle at the end of the superhero movie of your choice, where on one side you have all of the bad guys, you've got a dragon and you've got beasts and you've got Babylon lined up against the other side, led by Christ, already drenched in the blood of his enemies, carrying a mighty sword, and the armies of heaven adorned in white. And they go at it, and evil is defeated, and good wins in a final act of redemptive violence. It would make a good movie. It's not what is going on here. So, in order to understand that it's not what's going on here, we need to return to something that I said. You see, Christ is not drenched in the blood of his enemies. Christ is wearing white, stained with blood, dipped in blood, dyed in blood, but that blood is his. He hasn't been into battle yet. That is the blood of his death on the cross. That is the blood of his suffering for the good of creation. That is the blood of his suffering for the redemption of the world. And the sword is not in his hand, it is coming out of his mouth. That's a powerful symbol. That's a symbol that says he has something to say that is going to change the world. And here's what this is about. The dragon and the beasts and Babylon and all of that, those are the powers of sin and death and everything that makes life less. And we've seen over the preceding chapters their work at being the powers of sin and death and everything that makes life less. We have seen them bring about sin and death and make life less. And now Christ shows up with the proof of what he has done for the world and with the good news that comes out of his mouth, with the gospel of redemption that comes out of his mouth, and defeats all of those powers. They are no more. Sin and death and everything that makes life less is done. And Christ stands victorious. See, that's the good news. This is not a final act of redemptive violence. This is not a final act of playing by the rules of sin and death and everything that makes life less in order to beat them. This is a final act of sovereignty, of blessedness, of love, where Christ, simply by saying, simply by uttering, simply by telling the world that it is loved and worthy of love, that it is restored and worthy of that restoration, puts those powers of sin and death and everything that makes life less to rest forever. So, if Christianity is about anything, if following this Jesus fellow is about anything, it's about that. We do not seek violence. We certainly do not seek some oxymoronic redemptive violence. We do not play by the powers of sin and death and everything that makes life less, for we have been freed from those powers. We spread the good news that not only have we been freed from those powers, but everything has been freed from those powers, and a new world, abiding in love, abiding in God, is not only possible, but here, if we would just open our eyes and see it.